Welcome to Crocodile MTG. Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Jordan with Crocodile MTG here bringing you another Magic the Gathering video. Today we are playing Blue-Black Death Shadow in Legacy and we are going to keep this hand. So we're going to start with a turn 1 Watery Grave and play out this Delver of Secrets. And then we have Force of Will backup for hopefully any shenanigans our opponent's doing. And without further ado, let's get into this. So here's the Watery Grave, entered tapped. Delver of Secrets, and now we'll pass the turn back to our opponent. Our opponent plays a Wasteland turn 1. They might Wasteland our... Yep. Let's see if we can blind flip this Delver. Alright, we reveal Flooded Strand. So no, we don't want to reveal that card. We'll leave it on top. We'll play out this Watery Grave and we'll ponder for the turn. So we want our second card to be a spell. This is a little odd because I don't think we want all of these. So I think Wasteland is going to be fine. So I'll take the Wasteland. I want to make sure this Delver flips, so I'm not going to shuffle. I think the Wasteland's fine against whatever we're going to play against. And I think the Daze is going to be good too. So we have a Ponder, we have a Force Will in hand, and then we have a Daze on top of our library. So Wasteland, just going to take care of another one of our cards, which is perfectly fine. Next turn we're just going to play with this Flooded Strand and sit on this Delver for a little bit. So here is the Flooded Strand. If we wanted to, we can actually play out this Ponder, which we might as well do. Hopefully our opponent doesn't have another Wasteland, but if they do, no big deal. Any order, and we're gonna shuffle. All right, we found another Delver. Cool. So our opponent, Underground Sea, and they're going to play out a Delver of their own. It looks like we're against the mirror match here. I have no problem with their Delver, because now we're going to start Wastelanding them. Gurmag Angler. So we're going to Wasteland here, and then I think we're going to cast a Gurmag here. Exiling 6. And we have the Daze back up and a Force of Will. And we're going to swing in here for 3. And hopefully now they're just shut off of mana because they did play 2 Wastelands and a... Alright, they blind flipped their Insectile Aberration. They have an Underground Sea. Kind of want to just Daze... Do I want to Daze? I guess not. We'll let our opponent ponder. I'm hoping our opponent hits us for 3 so we can play out the Shadow. That being said, our opponent's kind of tied with us a little bit in life total. But we do have this Force of Will and the Daze back up. So hopefully we can find something off the top of our library here that... like maybe a fetch land. We are playing 4 Wastelands. Or I'm sorry, 4 Watery Graves. We're also playing 4 Wastelands. But we're playing 4 Watery Graves, so it'd be nice to find a fetch land because this isn't our last shock land. A lot of the lists only run 3. I think running 4 is perfectly fine, particularly for this reason. He Wastelanded 2 of our cards away. And it looks like he's just going to hold it back here for... Alright, so hopefully we find something here. Alright, we found a Fatal Push, which is good. So I'm going to cast it on this Insectile Aberration. And if our opponent tries to Force, I'm going to Daze back. Okay. So now we're going to swing in here for 8. Put our opponent to 5. And now we have this Daze and Force backup. And I don't think our opponent's going to be able to do anything. Alright, Wasteland is fine. So they're going to Wasteland our Watery Grave. But now we have this Force, so hopefully it could be a Gurmag of their own. Alright, so we're going to attempt to cast this Force of Will. Alright, and they're going to Force Will back. And we don't have any land to play this Daze, which is fine. Alright, we found the Polluted Delta, which is good. So now we're going to swing in. He's going to trade with this Gurmag. And we're going to fetch down to 9 here and play a 4/4 Shadow. And we have this Daze backup, just in case. Alright, and that's the game. So, against the mirror match here, I think the spells are going to be important. Diabolic Edict's going to come in. I don't know if Liliana should come in or not. Our counter magic's going to be very important in this matchup, and it's going to go back and forth and be grindy. Do I want Surgical Extraction? There are definitely things, some things we can surgical back and forth. I think I want surgical over a lot of these. So Reanimate's fine. I think surgical can just take a huge chunk out of their out of the opposing items for us. For example, if our opponent dazes or Force of Wills us early, we can try and surgical away. Plus, it gives us a free spell. We can try and put out a Death Shadow a lot quicker. I guess we'll play it a little bit and see what our opponent tried or decided to do. I don't think Thoughtseize is good here. I don't actually think these surgicals are very good. Him might be okay though in their place. So I think I cut a Daze here. I know I said counter magic's important, but maybe it's these Reanimates. A Reanimate, a single Reanimate. I guess we'll keep them. We can always Reanimate our opponent's Street Wraith. So I'm going to cut a Stifle here. Actually, I can Stifle their Wasteland. Maybe it's another Daze and Stubborn Denial. Those aren't the best options, but I haven't played a lot of the mirror match, so we'll try that here. Alright, so this hand has a Daze and a Stubborn Denial, but it doesn't have anything for turn 1. I mean, it has a Delver of Secrets, but I'm saying if our opponent does anything, like a Thoughtseize. That being said, I think this is still a keep. And we'll see what our opponent plays. They start with an Underground Sea and just pass the turn back, so that's pretty good for us. Now I think I'm going to run out this Delver of Secrets. I'm just going to keep the pressure on our opponent as much as we can. Our opponent might be debating countering this, depending on if their hand's removal light or not. The one thing they could do too is float a mana and daze. But if they daze first without floating the mana, we can daze back. So our opponent's going to have to decide what they want to do here. Alright, so Delver Secrets resolves. Hopefully we can blind flip it next turn. Our opponent might have a Fatal Push that they want to use into turn. Alright, so our opponent just passes back. Or passes to their turn. And we'll see what our opponent's up to. They led with an Underground Sea, which is surprising to me. Oh, maybe they're Grixis control. Maybe they're not. Alright, so Lightning Bolt is fine. Now I'm just going to him to Torok our opponent. That was a pretty good draw for the turn. It at least baits counter magic out of our opponent. Alright, so they're going to hide whatever they want to keep up with Brainstorm. I could have actually countered back with the Brainstorm. That may have been what I should have done. But I think I want to try and avoid our opponent having a turn 3 Liliana. Depending on what they're playing, they might be on that play. So we'll see here. I don't think they'd be on Grixis because, like, Grixis control at least. Alright, so we're going to pick up a land here. Alright, so our opponent, we hit Engineered Explosive and Wasteland. So that seems pretty alright for what we're doing. Next turn we're going to play this Flooded Strand, fetch up a land, and play a 2/2 Shadow. Which isn't great, but we'll see. Our opponent either didn't mean to tap for blue, or maybe they're trying to play around days. Alright, so preordained from our opponent. They put 2 cards on top, and now they Inquisition us. So they have plenty of choices here. I'm assuming they just take the Reanimate. Alright. And we drew Fatal Push for the turn. So I could play out this Dust Shadow as a 2/2, but I think I want to hold it for a turn. I think I'm just worried about our opponent having Lightning Bolt and just killing it easily. I want to be able to hold it with removal backup. Alright, and Gurmag from our opponent. That's fine. Alright, now we have Daze as well, so that's perfectly fine for us. So we're going to grab a Watery Grave here. Shock. This is only a 4/4 at the moment, but it easily can grow. So now we're going to pass the turn back. Alright, so we're going to Daze in response. And our opponent already knows about the Stubborn Denial, so. Alright, so our opponent's going to hit us down to 4. Or maybe they just keep it. I'm surprised they kept it back, to be honest. Alright, so I'm going to play this Watery Grave out. And I'm just going to swing in. I'm going to put the pressure on our opponent. And if our opponent has, like, land... or if our opponent swings back with Kermog and has Lightning Bolt, that's just the game. But there's nothing we can do about that. We have to go for lethal, so... Alright, so I'm going to Stubborn Denial this, and then hopefully we have enough in here to win. We're 1 damage short of dealing damage to ourselves. Alright, so our opponent hits us with Gurmag. We're down to 2. Anything kills us. Alright, they have a Young Pyromancer. So we have the Fatal Push for that. And we have another Death Shadow. So we're going to cast the Fatal Push. And I think this might be enough to win us the game. Alright, and it is. Good game, opponent. Thank you so much for watching. Please go hit that like and subscribe button if you enjoyed today's video. If you'd like to dive further into the Crocodile MTG community, consider heading over to Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, you can become a sponsor of the content we produce here, and you'll get your name added to the description below. That's patreon.com/crocodilemtg.